The silver research vessel Stellar Seeker emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, its crystalline sensors glittering in the light of Earth's sun. Senior researcher Zixtal stood on the observation deck, their iridescent scales shifting from deep blue to purple with anticipation. This was their 14th Lost Civilization survey, and they had already drafted the opening paragraphs of what would surely be another scholarly paper on the inevitable fall of developing species. Preliminary scans complete, senior researcher announced third technician Mirax from their control pod. The young Centaurian scales flickered with excitement as data streams filled the ship's holographic displays. Atmospheric composition shows significant improvement from our last survey 30 cycles ago. The humans' self-destructive industrial practices appear to have been halted, though far too late to save their species, of course. Zixtal's facial tendrils curled in satisfaction. As expected. Add a note to the preliminary report. Yet another example of technological advancement outpacing ecological wisdom. The Galactic Science Council will appreciate that observation. The ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, its advanced shielding dispersing the friction heat into beautiful patterns of purple and gold. Below them, the ruins of what had once been a sprawling metropolis spread out like a stone garden, partially reclaimed by vegetation. Zixtal noted with amusement how the primitive metal and glass structures had failed to withstand even 3 centuries of abandonment. Junior researcher Venra, fresh from the prestigious Academy of Xenoarchaeology, adjusted her sensor arrays with more precision than the task really required. Senior researcher, I'm detecting unusual energy patterns beneath the surface. They appear to form a geometric grid extending throughout the entire urban area. Undoubtedly residual radiation from their primitive fission power systems, Zixtal dismissed, though they made a note to include it in their report. The humans were notorious for their reliance on dangerous and inefficient energy sources. The Stellar Seeker settled onto what had once been a large public gathering space, its landing struts crushing the remains of decorative vegetation that had long since grown wild. The team prepared their survey equipment, each member checking their personal force fields, a necessary precaution when exploring potentially contaminated ruins. As they emerged from the ship, Zixtal was already dictating notes into their personal data core. Initial observation confirms previous assumptions regarding human architectural limitations. Load-bearing structures show expected decay patterns consistent with their simplistic understanding of material science. Venera, however, seemed distracted by her handheld scanner. Senior researcher, these readings, the deterioration rates appear to be mathematically consistent across all structures, regardless of their composition or exposure to elements. That seems entirely natural for a civilization that built everything to equally poor standards. Zixtal interrupted. Remember your training, junior researcher. The simplest explanation is usually correct. The survey team made their way through the quiet streets, their hover platforms gliding silently past empty buildings. Nature had reclaimed much of the city, with vines and trees breaking through the ancient pavement in seemingly random patterns. Yet Venera couldn't shake the feeling that something about those patterns felt deliberate. They approached what appeared to be a major transport hub, its entrance still marked with faded symbols in the human writing system. Zixtal's tendrils rippled with academic satisfaction as they began setting up their primary scanning equipment. This would be an excellent example for their upcoming presentation, Urban Planning Failures in Pre-Contact Societies. The scanner hummed to life, sending invisible beams deep into the Earth. As the first 3-dimensional images began forming in their holographic display, Venera's scales shifted to a startled white. Hidden beneath the surface ruins lay something vast and intricate, and if her readings were correct, it was maintaining a perfect temperature despite centuries of abandonment. Zixtal, however, was already composing their next research note. Human subterranean construction shows expected signs of technological limitations. They paused as a subtle vibration passed through the ground beneath their hover platform. Probably just settlement of the primitive foundations, they decided. After all, What else could it possibly be? The morning sun cast long shadows through the overgrown streets of Old Tokyo as the research team expanded their survey. Venra hovered near a crumbling intersection, her scanner's holographic display showing increasingly puzzling readings. The vegetation here grew in perfect hexagonal patterns, though this was only visible when mapped in 3 dimensions. "Senior researcher," she called out, her scales shifting to a thoughtful green. "I believe I found something noteworthy about the plant growth patterns." Zixtal barely looked up from their own readings. Yes, remarkable how quickly Earth species reclaim abandoned human structures. Make a note for the Botanical Division and continue with your assigned tasks." But Venra couldn't dismiss what she was seeing. The trees weren't just growing. They were growing in mathematically precise formations. She directed her hover platform higher for a better view, the quiet hum of its anti-gravity field barely disturbing the morning air. "Third Technician Mirax," she called over the team's communication channel. "Could you verify something for me? Are you seeing any unusual patterns in the decay rates of the building materials?" Mirax's voice crackled back. "Now that you mention it, the degradation is oddly uniform. I've never seen entropy behave so consistently before, but surely that's just a coincidence." From their position near what appeared to be an ancient commercial district, Zixtal's voice cut through the channel. "If you two are quite finished discussing gardening and weather damage, we have actual research to conduct. These ruins won't document themselves." Venera guided her platform down to street level, where she noticed something even stranger. The road surface, though appearing broken and abandoned, showed signs of recent molecular restructuring. She adjusted her scanner sensitivity and gasped softly. The cracks weren't decay at all. They were more like circulation systems, carrying minute amounts of energy through the seemingly dead city. A sharp tone from her instrument drew her attention to a nearby building. Its windows were dark and clouded with age, but her readings indicated the glass was actually a form of transparent computer memory, storing massive amounts of data in its crystalline structure. This was impossible. The humans shouldn't have had this level of technology. "I believe we need to reassess our assumptions about human technological capabilities," she announced, trying to keep her voice steady despite her excitement. Zixtal's facial tendrils curled in amusement as they glided over. "Ah, the enthusiasm of youth. Let me show you something, junior researcher." They gestured broadly at the surrounding ruins. "What do you see?" "Primitive construction materials. Steel, concrete, glass. Simple mechanical systems that failed centuries ago. Now compare that to our civilization's achievements. The difference is quite clear." Before Venra could respond, her scanner detected a power surge beneath the street. For just a moment, a complex network of energy pathways lit up her display, then vanished as if it had never existed. She quickly saved the reading, her scales flickering between excitement and confusion. "With respect, senior researcher, I don't believe these are just ruins. The patterns I'm seeing suggest nothing more than your instruments need recalibration," Zixtal interrupted. "Remember the principle of Occam's razor that we learned from studying human philosophy. The simplest explanation is usually correct. And the simplest explanation here is that you're seeing what you want to see." As if in response to Zixtal's dismissal, a distant humming began to emanate from deep below the city. The entire research team paused, their scales shifting to alert yellow. "Probably just settling foundations," Mirax suggested nervously. "Of course it is," Zixtal agreed quickly. "These primitive structures are constantly shifting. Now let's continue our survey of the commercial district. I want to document their quaint attempts at electronic commerce before lunch." Venera remained behind for a moment, staring at the spot where she detected the power surge. As she turned to follow the others, her scanner recorded one last anomaly. The temperature throughout the entire city was being maintained at exactly 20 degrees Celsius, with a variance of less than 0.001 degrees. She added the data to her personal log, knowing that soon she would need more than just readings to convince her superiors that something extraordinary was happening in these primitive ruins. The research team descended into the underground complex through what appeared to be an ancient transit station. Their hover platforms cast shimmering light across surfaces that should have been corroded by centuries of abandonment. Instead, the walls gleamed with an inexplicable cleanliness that made Zixtel's scales ripple with unease, though they would never admit it. "Remarkable preservation," Mirax commented, running a sensor over the smooth walls. "The humans must have used some form of primitive sealant." Venera adjusted her scanner sensitivity again. "These readings suggest the walls are actually self-cleaning at a molecular level. They're consuming atmospheric particles and processing them into something else." "Impossible," Zixtel declared, but their voice carried a note of uncertainty. The humans never developed molecular engineering. Their technology was purely mechanical, based on their historical records. The tunnel opened into a vast chamber that stretched beyond their light's reach. Their platform's illumination revealed row after row of sleek pods, each one identical to the next, arranged in perfect geometric patterns that extended into the darkness. The air held a slight electric charge, making their scales tingle. "Standard storage units," Zixtel announced, though they kept their distance, probably for preserved food or industrial materials. "Note the primitive cooling systems." Venera guided her platform closer to one of the pods, her scanner revealing complex energy patterns flowing beneath its surface. "Senior researcher, these aren't cooling systems. Each pod is maintaining a precise internal environment. They're still active." Before Zixtel could dismiss her observation, a soft pulse of light traveled through the lines between the pods, like a heartbeat through crystalline veins. The entire research team fell silent, their scales shifting to alarmed yellows and oranges. "A power surge from deteriorating systems," Zixtel said quickly, their facial tendrils twitching. "Nothing more. Though perhaps we should maintain a safer distance from potentially unstable human technology." Mirax's scanner chimed urgently. "Energy readings are consistent throughout the facility. It's drawing power from somewhere, but I can't locate the source. The signature doesn't match any known human power generation method." The chamber's far wall suddenly illuminated, revealing what appeared to be a control interface. Its surface was unmarked by time or decay, the subtle sheen suggesting regular maintenance by unseen systems. Venera approached it cautiously, her scanner detecting complex data flows beneath the seemingly simple exterior. "The temperature in here is exactly 20 degrees Celsius, she reported, just like on the surface. "This can't be coincidence. These systems are connected to whatever's maintaining the entire city." Zixtel drifted closer, their scientific curiosity temporarily overcoming their dismissive attitude. The humans were capable of basic climate control, certainly, but maintaining precise temperatures across an entire complex for centuries. Their power sources were far too primitive. A subtle vibration passed through the chamber, and more pods became visible as hidden lighting activated in sequence. The scale of the facility began to dawn on them. It extended for kilometers in every direction, each section filled with identical pods in perfect alignment. "We should document this quickly and return to the surface," Zixtel decided, their scales now a nervous pale blue. These energy readings could indicate dangerous instability in their outdated systems. But Venera had made another discovery. Her scanner had detected a regular pattern of energy pulses coming from within each pod, rhythmic, precise, and undeniably deliberate. The pattern matched exactly with something she had learned during her xenobiology studies. "Senior researcher," she said quietly, her scales shifting to the deep green of profound realization. "These energy signatures, they match the pattern of human heartbeats." Before Zixtel could respond, the control interface suddenly hummed to life. Holographic symbols appeared above its surface, floating in complex three-dimensional patterns that no primitive technology should have been capable of generating. The message they spelled out was clear, even in the ancient human language. "DNA scan complete. processing temporal authorization. Venra's discovery in Tokyo triggered an immediate expansion of the survey mission. The Stellar Seeker now orbited Earth, its powerful sensors focused on every major population center. In the ship's main laboratory, holographic displays showed similar underground complexes beneath cities across the planet. The patterns are identical, Mirax announced, manipulating the three-dimensional map with practiced gestures. Every facility maintains the same temperature, the same energy signature, even the same geometric pod arrangements. Zixtal paced the laboratory deck, their scales shifting between uncertain purple and frustrated orange. There must be a simple explanation. Perhaps they mass-produced these storage facilities using standard templates. That doesn't explain this, Venra said, overlaying the global energy grid she'd reconstructed from their scans. The lines of power connected every facility in an intricate web, forming patterns that pulsed with mathematical precision. The entire planet is a single integrated system. The holographic display zoomed in on the North American continent, where massive underground complexes spread beneath former cities like New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles. Each one hummed with the same mysterious energy signature. Each one maintained the same perfect environmental conditions. Look at the distribution pattern, Venra continued, highlighting the connections between facilities. It's not random. The whole network forms a computational array more sophisticated than anything in the galactic archives. Mirax's scales flickered with excitement as they analyzed the data. She's right. The energy flows follow quantum entanglement principles we've only theorized about. These aren't separate facilities. They're nodes in a planetary quantum computer. Preposterous, Zixtal snapped, but their voice lacked conviction. The humans barely understood quantum mechanics. Their most advanced computers were primitive binary systems. A ship's sensors detected another power surge, this time originating from beneath the ruins of London. The holographic display updated in real time, showing cascading energy patterns spreading through the global network. Each pulse carried massive amounts of data, yet somehow produced zero transmission delay between continents. The network is becoming more active, Venra observed, her scales now a deep green of concentration. The energy signatures are changing frequency, almost like it's waking up, Mirax finished quietly. Zixtal stared at the display, their professional certainty crumbling in the face of undeniable evidence. The humans hadn't just built underground bunkers, they transformed their entire planet into an integrated system of unprecedented complexity. A new data stream appeared on the displays, showing the internal scans of various pods across different facilities. Each one contained the same rhythmic energy pattern they detected in Tokyo, the signature of suspended human life signs, perfectly preserved. This was never about simple survival. Venra realized, her voice filled with wonder. They didn't build shelters to hide from disaster. They built a global network to orchestrate something far more ambitious. The holographic display shifted again, revealing layer upon layer of interconnected systems. Power generation that defied known physics, environmental controls that operated at the molecular level, information processing capabilities that made the most advanced galactic computers look like children's toys. The surface ruins, Mirax said suddenly. They're not ruins at all, are they? They're camouflage. The humans deliberately made their cities look abandoned. Before anyone could respond, the ship's sensors detected a new energy signature. Deep beneath the Antarctic ice, another facility was activating, one so massive it dwarfed all the others. Its power readings suggested capabilities far beyond anything they'd seen so far. Zixtal's scales had shifted to the pale blue of scientific humility. Prepare a preliminary report for the Galactic Science Council. Classification. Urgent. Subject. Major revision of human technological assessment required. As they drafted the message, none of them noticed that the quantum network had already detected their transmission. In facilities across the globe, ancient systems began executing long-dormant protocols. The time for hiding was coming to an end. The Antarctic facility's activation changed everything. The Stellar Seeker's crew watched in fascination as new energy patterns rippled through the global network, far more complex than anything they'd seen before. In the ship's laboratory, Venra's scanner detected an incoming signal. "Something's attempting to establish contact," she announced, her scales shifting to excited gold. The holographic display filled with streaming data, mathematical equations so elegant they seemed almost alive. Zixtel leaned forward, their professional skepticism finally giving way to genuine curiosity. "These aren't just equations. This is a test sequence. The system is evaluating our technological capabilities." "But why test us?" Mirax wondered, their scales flickering between confusion and anticipation. Unless the humans left instructions for whoever found them." The first sequence appeared in the center of the laboratory, a complex quantum mechanics problem that pushed the limits of even their advanced understanding. As they worked to solve it, more equations materialized, each one building on the last. "This is brilliant," Venra breathed, her scales now pulsing with deep emerald appreciation. "The test itself is teaching us the principles we need to understand their technology. It's not just evaluation. It's education." The ship's computers struggled with the calculations, their quantum processors reaching their operational limits. But Venra noticed something in the pattern of the equations, a hidden elegance that suggested a simpler solution. The humans found a different path, she realized, quickly adjusting their approach. They didn't just advance their technology. They discovered entirely new principles of physics. As if responding to her insight, the test sequence shifted. The mathematical symbols rearranged themselves, forming patterns that seemed to dance at the edge of comprehension. Each solution they provided unlocked new layers of understanding. "Their quantum computing isn't just more advanced," Mirax observed, their scales brightening with revelation. "It operates on fundamentally different principles. They're not just processing information. They're manipulating the fabric of space-time itself." Zixtel's facial tendrils quivered with a mixture of humility and excitement. All our assumptions about human technology were wrong. They didn't fail. They transcended traditional development paths entirely. The final equation appeared, deceptively simple yet profound in its implications. As Venra input their solution, the holographic display transformed. A new presence filled the laboratory, its complexity barely contained by their sensors. "Greetings, researchers of the Stellar Seeker." The system communicated, not in words, but in pure mathematical concepts that translated perfectly into understanding. "You have demonstrated sufficient comprehension to proceed." The laboratory's displays came alive with new information, detailed technical specifications, historical records, and the true purpose of the global network. The scale of human achievement left them speechless. "They didn't go extinct," Venra whispered, her scales shifting to deepest blue of profound realization. "They evolved. Everything we've seen, the ruins, the pods, the quantum network, it's all part of a metamorphosis." The system confirmed her understanding, sharing images of the final days before the Great Sleep. Humanity had faced multiple crises, environmental, social, technological. But instead of fighting separately against each problem, they had unified to implement an incredible solution. 300 years, Mirax breathed, reading the data streams. They gave their world 3 centuries to heal while they slept, protected by systems so advanced they appear simple to outsiders. Zixtel was already composing a new message to the Science Council, their earlier skepticism forgotten. "This changes everything we thought we knew about technological development." The humans didn't just survive. They mastered the art of appearing primitive while achieving the impossible. As they processed this revelation, the quantum network continued its activation sequence. Across the planet, long-dormant systems stirred to life. The time of sleep was ending, and humanity's greatest achievement was about to be revealed to the galaxy. The activation sequence began in Antarctica, a pulse of energy that rippled outward through the quantum network. The Stellar Seeker's crew watched in awe as the seemingly abandoned Earth transformed beneath them. Cities that had appeared dead for centuries awakened with breathtaking precision. Energy signatures are multiplying exponentially. Mirax reported, their scales shifting through patterns of wonder and disbelief. The power output, it's beyond anything in our database. Beneath the surface of every major city, vast machines hummed to life. The crystalline networks they'd discovered weren't just computers. They were nodes of a planetary consciousness, each one precisely calibrated to manage the awakening. Look at the synchronization, Venra breathed, watching the holographic display track waves of activation spreading across continents. Every system is responding in perfect harmony. This isn't just automation, it's orchestration. The surface ruins began to transform. Buildings that had appeared decrepit moments before shed their carefully crafted camouflage, revealing pristine structures underneath. Streets that seemed broken reformed themselves, molecular assemblers weaving new materials from centuries of accumulated debris. Zixtal's facial tendrils quivered as they recorded everything. The complexity, even the dust, is being repurposed. They didn't just preserve their civilization. They designed it to be reborn. In Tokyo, holographic displays bloomed like electronic flowers, spreading through the streets in cascading patterns of light. New York's seemingly empty towers filled with flowing data streams, their windows becoming vast information displays. The Sydney Opera House transformed into a crystalline communication hub, its iconic shells now pulsing with quantum-entangled signals. The atmospheric processors are activating, Mirax announced, tracking massive environmental systems coming online. They're not just clearing the air, they're implementing some kind of global climate optimization protocol. Gardens appeared in city centers as dormant seeds, carefully preserved in the structural DNA of the ruins, sprouted on command. The plants grew with unnatural speed, guided by invisible fields to create perfect green spaces in the midst of the technological resurrection. Each city is generating a unique frequency, Venray observed, studying the complex harmonics. They're not just communicating, they're singing to each other across the quantum network. The transformation reached even the smallest details. Streetlights that had seemed broken for centuries activated in perfect sequence, their light adapting to optimal wavelengths for both visibility and environmental benefit. Transportation tubes emerged from beneath the reformed streets, their frictionless surfaces promising movement at impossible speeds. The power requirements for all this should be astronomical, Zixtal noted, their scientific minds struggling to process the implications. Yet they're generating clean energy on a scale our civilization can barely theorize. In orbit, ancient satellites shed their dormant shells, revealing solar collection arrays of impossible efficiency. The debris field that had surrounded Earth vanished as hidden systems activated, each piece finding its place in a greater purpose. "It's beautiful," Mirax whispered as waves of light rippled across the awakening planet. They turned their entire world into a work of art. The Antarctic facility pulsed again, sending new commands through the network. In response, the suspended animation pods began their final preparation sequence. Millions of human lives, perfectly preserved, prepared to rejoin their reborn world. The environmental systems are reaching optimal levels, Venra reported, watching the reading stabilize. Temperature, atmospheric composition, even the planetary magnetic field, everything is being fine-tuned for human habitation. Zixtal's scales had settled into the deep blue of profound respect. We thought we were studying ruins, but we were actually witnessing a metamorphosis. The humans didn't just survive. They composed a symphony of technology and nature, then waited for the perfect moment to play it. As the transformation continued, the quantum network sent them one final message. "Thank you for completing the verification protocol. Awakening sequence commencing. Welcome to the dawn of Earth's renaissance." The awakening began in waves, carefully orchestrated by the quantum network. First came the engineering teams, their suspension pods opening in perfect sequence. The Stellar Seeker's crew watched through their sensors as humans emerged into their reborn world, moving with surprising grace despite centuries of sleep. Their vital signs are perfect, Mirax reported, monitoring the medical data streaming from the facilities. No cellular degradation, no mental deterioration. The suspension technology preserved them completely. In New York, a young engineer named Sarah Chen stepped from her pod, her neural implants already connecting with the city's systems. Holographic displays materialized around her, showing the status of every system in the Eastern Seaboard network. Her fingers danced through the air, making minute adjustments to the awakening sequence. They're not just waking up, Venray observed, her scales shimmering with amazement. They're resuming their work as if they never left. The neural interfaces are beyond anything we've achieved. Across the globe, more pods activated. Medical teams emerged to monitor the awakening process. Scientists and technicians took their stations, seamlessly integrating with systems that had waited centuries for their return. Each human moved with purpose, following a plan laid down by their ancestors. The coordination is incredible, Zixtal admitted, watching teams in different cities work in perfect harmony. They're not just individuals, they're parts of a greater whole, yet they retain their autonomy. In Moscow, quantum engineers activated new transportation systems, creating stable wormhole corridors between major cities. Tokyo's artificial intelligence centers came fully online, their hybrid human-digital operators managing vast data flows with casual ease. From Sydney to Santiago, renewable energy systems exceeded their theoretical maximum efficiency. This level of human-machine integration should be impossible, Mirek said, their scales flickering between confusion and admiration. Yet they make it look effortless. The second wave brought the agricultural specialists. They emerged into vast underground gardens, where plants had been genetically engineered to grow in artificial light, producing more food with fewer resources than should have been possible. The farms weren't just efficient, they were beautiful, transforming industrial spaces into living works of art. They're not just surviving, Venra realized, watching the activities below. They're thriving. Every system is designed for both maximum efficiency and aesthetic beauty. Medical facilities activated worldwide as more of humanity awoke. Children emerged with their parents, their neural implants already educating them about the changed world. Artists and musicians took their places alongside scientists and engineers, their creativity integrating seamlessly with the technological revival. The cultural preservation is remarkable, Zixtal noted, observing how art galleries and concert halls came to life. They didn't just save their civilization, they saved their humanity. In Antarctica, the central facility revealed its final secret. The massive quantum computer wasn't just coordinating the awakening, it had been preserving and evolving human knowledge throughout the centuries of sleep. Generations of artificial intelligence had worked in harmony with the suspended human consciousness, solving problems and advancing technology even as their creators slept. They never stopped learning, Mirax whispered, reading the data streams. The suspension wasn't just about survival, it was about giving their science time to mature. Sarah Chen's voice reached them through the quantum network, her thoughts translated perfectly into their language. Welcome, observers from the stars. You've witnessed our awakening. Now let us show you what humanity has become. The message carried no trace of pride or arrogance, only an invitation to understand. As more humans awakened, their achievements spoke for themselves. They had transformed sleep into progress, patience into power, and time itself into their greatest ally. Zixtal's scales settled into the deep blue of profound understanding. We thought we were studying their past, but we were actually witnessing their future. The humans didn't just sleep, they evolved. 1 month after the awakening, the Stellar Seeker remained in Earth orbit, its crew still documenting the unprecedented transformation below. Venera stood at the observation deck, watching quantum streams of data flow between cities like rivers of light. Final population report, Mirax announced, their scales gleaming with excitement. 10 billion humans successfully revived. No losses. The suspension system maintained perfect integrity for 3 centuries. Zixtal, who had long since abandoned their preliminary conclusions, worked alongside human scientists in a virtual conference space. Their facial tendrils rippled with excitement as they explored principles of physics that overturned millennia of galactic assumptions. The quantum network wasn't just preserving their bodies, Venre observed, reviewing the latest data. It was accelerating their scientific development. They accomplished more during their sleep than most civilizations achieve in 1,000 years of active research. Below them, Earth had become a harmony of nature and technology. The restored atmosphere sparkled with clean energy systems that defied conventional physics. Transportation networks linked every corner of the globe through stable micro-wormholes, while urban centers demonstrated the perfect balance of efficiency and beauty. They've already begun sharing their advancements, Mirax noted, monitoring the streams of technical data flowing to the Galactic Science Council. No patents, no restrictions, no demands for payment. They're offering everything freely. In the Antarctic facility, Sarah Chen led the visiting alien scientists through their quantum computing centers. The processors didn't just calculate, they shaped reality itself, treating mathematics as a fundamental force of nature rather than just a description of it. The humans didn't waste their sleep. Zixtal commented, their scales now permanently shifted to the deep blue of wisdom. They used time itself as a resource, letting their automated systems explore countless possibilities until they found the perfect solutions. The quantum network had already begun connecting with other worlds, offering its capabilities to help solve problems across the galaxy. Environmental restoration techniques developed for Earth were being adapted for damaged planets. Medical technologies that had preserved humanity were being modified to help other species. They're not interested in dominion, Venra realized, watching the collaborative projects unfold. They want to elevate everyone. Their achievement became their gift to the stars. Hidden beneath the surface achievements lay an even greater transformation. Humanity had evolved during their long sleep, not physically but conceptually. They had transcended the notion of competition, replacing it with a model of universal cooperation that their quantum networks made possible. The suspension pods weren't just preservation chambers, Mirax said, studying the final technical readings. They were chrysalises. Humanity emerged transformed, ready to face the cosmos with new understanding. The Galactic Science Council had already revised its entire technological classification system. Human achievement now defined the upper bounds of multiple categories, from quantum engineering to environmental science. Yet the humans themselves remained surprisingly humble. We had time to understand our mistakes, Sarah explained through the quantum link. 3 centuries of reflection, calculation, and evolution. We learned that true advancement only comes through harmony, with nature, with technology, and with each other. Zixtal's final report to the Science Council stood as a testament to intellectual honesty. We came to study ruins, they wrote, but instead witnessed resurrection. The humans didn't just survive, they reinvented survival itself. They turned patience into progress, unity into strength, and wisdom into work of art. As the stellar seeker prepared to depart, carrying volumes of new scientific understanding, Venra took one last look at the transformed Earth. The planet gleamed like a jewel, its surface alive with flows of quantum energy that connected every living thing in a dance of conscious cooperation. They never needed our validation, she realized, her scales shimmering with profound respect. They knew exactly what they were doing. Sometimes the greatest achievements look like ruins to those who aren't ready to understand them.